The wind howled through the towering trees, a deep rumbling in the sky like the earth itself was in pain. A storm was approaching, and with it, memories of a past that no longer felt real. But for Aiden, it was the only truth he had ever known. He could hear the thunder from miles away, the sound almost as if it was calling to him, beckoning him toward a fate he could not escape. His heart raced as he stood alone on the edge of the cliff, looking out over the sprawling valley below. The dark clouds above seemed to mirror the tumult inside him, a violent clash of emotions, questions, and fears. It was here, at the edge of this very cliff, that he had once made a promise to his twin sister, Alara. The memory of that day was as vivid as the storm approaching now. They had been inseparable, the two of them, bound by blood, by dreams, and by a love so pure that even the heavens seemed to watch over them. Together, they had run through the fields, laughed beneath the sun, and whispered secrets to the wind. But that day, that cursed day, had shattered it all. Aiden closed his eyes, trying to block out the images that flooded his mind. The night had been as dark as the one that loomed now. Alara had vanished. One moment she was there, standing beside him, her laughter ringing through the night air like the sweetest melody. The next moment, she was gone. It was as though the earth had swallowed her whole, leaving nothing but the echo of her voice. For months, Aiden searched for her, calling her name in the dead of night, hoping that somehow, against all odds, she would return to him. But she never did. And in the weeks that followed, he had been forced to accept the unimaginable, that his sister, his other half, was lost forever. But that was before he received the letter. A flicker of light caught his attention, and Aiden turned to see a figure approaching him through the mist. He squinted, his heart pounding in his chest. The figure moved closer, and he could finally make out the shape of a woman, Alara. His breath caught in his throat as he stepped forward, his hands trembling. It was her, it had to be. Alara, he whispered, his voice barely audible above the wind. Is it really you? The figure stopped before him, and Aiden's eyes widened in disbelief. It was her, but there was something different. She was no longer the joyful, vibrant girl he remembered. Her once radiant eyes were now dull, her skin pale and worn. And she wore a crown of thorns, a symbol of suffering that made Aiden's heart break. Aiden, Alara's voice was soft, almost ethereal. I have come to warn you. Aiden's confusion deepened. Warn me? About what? The storm roared louder as Alara stepped closer, her face filled with sorrow. The truth is not as simple as you think. I did not disappear that night, Aiden. I was taken, by them. Taken? Aiden's voice faltered, and he reached for her, desperate to pull her into his arms. But she stepped back, shaking her head. I was taken by the shadows, by the darkness that rules over this world. They brought me to a place beyond time, beyond the reach of the living. But I was not alone there, Aiden. There were others, lost souls, trapped like me. Aiden's heart raced, his mind spinning with 1,000 questions. What do you mean? Where are you now? Why didn't you come back? I couldn't, Alara whispered, her voice barely a breath. I was not allowed to return until you knew the truth. Until you understood what had really happened that night. Aiden felt a chill run down his spine. What truth? What do I need to understand? Alara's eyes met his, and for the first time in years, Aiden saw the familiar spark of life in them. You think I was lost to the storm, don't you? But it was not the storm that took me, Aiden. It was the power of the river, the very force that had always flowed beneath us, hidden from our eyes. The river? Aiden asked, confusion swirling in his mind. It has been there all along, Alara continued, her voice growing stronger. A force of nature, older than time itself. It is the river that connects our world to the other side, the realm where lost souls wander. And it is the river that you must follow if you wish to find me. Aiden's heart skipped a beat. Follow the river? But how? It's gone. It's been destroyed. Alara smiled, a sad, knowing smile. The river has not been destroyed, Aiden. It still flows, hidden beneath the surface, waiting for you to find it. But you must be brave. You must be willing to face the darkness that lurks within you, the same darkness that took me from you. Aiden felt a weight settle in his chest, the burden of her words pressing down on him. He had always thought that his search for Alara had been for nothing, that the pain of losing her was something he could never overcome. But now, with her standing before him, he knew that his journey had only just begun. The storm intensified, lightning flashing across the sky, and Aiden felt the pull of something greater than himself. The river, the darkness, the truth, they were all part of a much bigger picture. And he could no longer ignore it. I will find you, Alara, he vowed, his voice steady despite the storm raging around him. I will follow the river, no matter where it leads. No matter what I must face. Alara nodded, her face softening. I know you will. But remember, Aiden, the journey will not be easy. The river will test you. It will show you things that will challenge everything you know, everything you believe. But you must stay true to yourself, to the love that binds us. Aiden took a deep breath, his resolve hardening. I will. For you. For us. With those final words, Alara began to fade, her form dissipating into the mist, leaving Aiden standing alone once again, his heart filled with a mix of hope and dread. The storm continued to rage around him, but he knew that the path ahead was clear. The river was waiting for him, and he would follow it, no matter the cost. As the last echoes of the storm faded, Aiden turned and began to walk toward the distant valley. The river, he knew, was waiting for him. He could feel its pull, the invisible force that beckoned him forward. It was a force that had always been there, but now it was more than just a river. It was a bridge between worlds, between life and death, between the past and the future. Aiden had no idea what he would find when he reached the river, but he knew that he had no choice but to follow. Alara had come to him for a reason. She had shown him the way, and now it was up to him to see it through. The path ahead was uncertain, but Aiden was determined to find the answers he sought. No matter what darkness lay ahead, no matter what tests the river would throw his way, he would not turn back. He had to know the truth. He had to find Alara. And so, with the storm finally beginning to subside, Aiden set off toward the river, his heart heavy with the weight of what lay ahead, but also filled with a new sense of purpose. This was not the end. This was just the beginning.